If you believe that dumping every extra dollar you make into the mortgage, which lives in the traditional bank's asset column, while locking up your liquidity for 30 years is the only path to financial security, this video is not for you. If that's not you, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why the internet advice of prioritizing your debt without first considering liquidity leaves hardworking Canadian families like yours completely fragile. When you hear people online giving blanket financial advice, you have to ask yourself if they're actually doing the work. I could tell you with absolute conviction, the suggested rules you're being taught are mathematically rigged against you. I follow the exact process I preach and redirected hundreds of thousands of dollars of personal debt back to my family, and I've coached hundreds of families to do the same. I bet I know what's spinning through your head right now. You're sitting there thinking, Vern, man, my situation is completely different. Interest rates are a mess, my renewal's coming up, and my budget is already stretched with that vehicle payment you talked about in your previous video. Where on earth am I supposed to come up with the cash to create this financial momentum you talk about? The truth is, you don't have to find the money. The cash is already flowing through your life. We just have to understand how to redirect it. Remember, you've been trained to obsess over the tiny 10% of leftover cash you might manage to save, while Canada's big retail banks are using the other 90% of your cash and flowing it through their system to increase their profits. You're left trying to solve today's cash flow problems with the advice that might have worked for your grandparents, but it just doesn't work anymore today. How could it? Your grandparents were buying houses for 2 to 3 times their annual income. Today, Canada's price to income ratio is 6 to 7 times. Their $10,000 bought them a real home, one with a garage and a backyard, something you could raise a family in. The comparable mortgage will get you a condo if you're lucky, but it's not about the condo. Back then, a single income family on a custodian or teacher salary were buying real homes. That's not happening today. Now, before we move ahead, this has to be said. This breakdown is strictly for educational purposes only and sharing what we've seen worked. While I am a licensed advisor, I am not your personal CPA or corporate lawyer, so make sure you consult with trusted professionals before making any big financial moves. Okay, so here's the deal. The difference between Canadian families who build real momentum and those who are barely getting by comes down to who controls the banking function in their life. When I say banking function, I mean one simple thing. Who has the ultimate power to say yes or no when your family needs access to capital? Take Dave Ramsay's typical advice. He tells his followers to double down on paying off their mortgage as fast as possible. On the surface, this sounds smart, but does it actually improve your financial position? I know you're here for a reason. You know something is off with the mainstream narrative. And if you're like me, deep down, you're well aware no one is going to step in and save your ass. If watching this video is your first step to building real wealth, then do yourself a favor, subscribe to the channel now to keep following along. There's no quick fix, but I guarantee you'll find what you're looking for here. Dave Ramsay built an empire on a single rigid premise. All debt is evil, and using leverage is a sign of moral weakness. His counter to this is to drop every single spare dollar against the mortgage principal until that load is gone. On paper, that feels like the responsible thing to do. Every time you see the principal balance drop, it gives you a sense of winning the game. But I'm going to show you what's actually happening under the hood. The moment you take your hard-earned cash out of your pocket and throw it onto the traditional retail mortgage account, that financial energy is gone. You effectively trapped your liquidity inside the bank's asset column. But has your budget actually gotten any lighter? No, that monthly commitment to the lender stays exactly the same. Your daily cash flow hasn't actually improved by a single dollar, and your pool of available emergency cash is sitting at zero because it's locked in the walls of your home. And what happens if life punches you in the face? Let's say your truck breaks down, the business revenue hits a low month, or your family faces an emergency. If you follow Dave's well-meaning advice, you would now need to go back to the bank, jump through their hoops, and ask them for permission to rent your own hard-earned dollars in the form of a commercial loan. The families we work with understand there is more than one way to pay off a mortgage fast. The Ramsay way leaves you giving up complete control over access to your capital. But what we actually want to do is build an environment where your money keeps working, stays accessible, and compounds uninterrupted even while you're using it to clear the board of that third-party friction. And yes, this is possible. I'm going to walk you through a specific financial framework we engineered for a Canadian professional within our client community. When this individual came to us, he was earning a fantastic six-figure salary selling heavy equipment. On the outside, he was doing everything right, and he did have some of the financial structures we talk about in place. But he was missing something, and he knew it, and that was coaching on how to use this system effectively. So I'm going to walk you through an example here. The equity redirection. Okay, let's start here. He had a remaining traditional mortgage balance of about $300,000. Because of the area and the acreage property, the home was appraised at well over $800,000. He had $500,000 of equity, but it was trapped inside the retail bank environment where it was doing exactly nothing for his household. We didn't change his financial objectives to pay off his mortgage faster, streamline his expenses, or see where we could improve his ability to earn income. We simply changed the process. First, we had him secure a flexible home equity line of credit against the property. We used that line of credit to wipe out the remaining balance of the traditional mortgage. On paper, his liability stayed identical, but pay attention to what happens to his control. His mandatory monthly payment dropped from $3,000 to a flexible interest-only base of around $1,500. With that move, we instantly freed up an additional $1,500 a month that could create breathing room and capital that could be intentionally redirected. This family spent the previous few years diligently capitalizing their own private family bank. We extracted a strategic $75,000 loan on his terms from his family bank and applied it directly to the bank's line of credit. The balance of his home equity line of credit is now $225,000. And because every time you pay down the line of credit, the interest-only payment drops with it. His $1,500 payment dropped by $300. This is an additional $300 we redirected to his own system. That's now $1,800 per month that was tied up in the home, now flowing back to their family bank to be accessed and used anytime for whatever they choose. And they can still use the home equity line of credit if they needed or wanted to. We're eliminating a liability and building a liquid compounding asset at the same time. Fast forward to today. The home equity line of credit is fully paid off. 100% of the old mortgage payment of $3,000 is sent back to their system, and their liquid pool of accessible cash grows every single day. Are you now starting to see the power of being a banker? And it needs to be said, there's nothing wrong with what you've been told to do. Invest in real estate, buy stocks, look for opportunities. But the first thing you have to do is control the banking function as it relates to your needs. When you do, all your results from other wealth strategies will be enhanced. This is an and process, not an or process, and why banks are in the banking business. The money is always flowing back to them so they can take advantage of more opportunities. You can too. In the next video, I'll walk you through another example of how we used our private family banking system to save our brother-in-law's construction business. See you there.